Welcome to episode 5 of Cut the Noise. We're calling this one Many Hats But No Fluff. The subtitle really is The Myth of Posting More and Why It's Not Helping You. Our focus is going to be myth busting and energizing. So don't worry, you're going to come out with this with some really useful information that you'll be able to action today. All right. So my target to you is to call out that hustle myth. What do I mean by that? Well, when you talk to other LinkedIn people, if you talk to anybody out there, they say, if you're not getting results, just post more. If you're not posting 5 times a week, twice before bedtime, you ain't going to get the results. But you know perfectly well your calendar's full of content that's going out, but the results just aren't improving. So if I could summarize that, posting more doesn't fix bad messaging. I don't mean bad. I'm not putting you in prison. You're not invisible because you're inconsistent. You're invisible because your content isn't built to stop the scroll. That's what your focus has always got to be. Stopping that scroll. These days you've got 3 seconds to grab their attention before they swipe left and go off and head down another path, watch some cats jump off filing cabinets or whatever. So today, remember I said it was many hats but no fluff. She's Kirsty, I'm Gareth, and we're going to focus today about the lie of volume over value. This is for business owners, people like you, who are burning out on production of content that just goes nowhere. It just adds to that background of white noise. Let's talk about why more posts aren't giving you more leads. So, trigger warning. I'm calling out your burnout because you're showing up every day and you're still getting no comments. And what's more important than all of that, you get no bookings. You're not converting. You look at the end of the month at all the effort and the time you put in, and maybe you've outsourced some of that work, but you get nothing back. The answer isn't more, it's better. Yeah, that sounds very trite, and I appreciate that. But volume doesn't replace thought. Volume doesn't replace strategy. Having a plan is everything. So, Kirsty, I believe you've got us 3 truth bombs.
I certainly have, and we've got a big one coming up first. So, truth bomb 1. You're confusing consistency with frequency. Now, people mix up that consistency with frequency, and it's killing their energy. Consistency is about being reliable and not burning yourself out. So if you're posting every single day just because someone told you to, that's not consistency, that's panic. And you're not showing up with impact. You're just throwing things out there to keep that machine running. Think about it. If you've posted 3 times a week with purpose, with thought, and with something to say that actually stops the scroll, you'll get far better results than 7 half-hearted posts that no one actually remembers.
Yeah, they've got to be struck by those posts. If they're not stopping that scroll, what's the point?
There is no point. That is the whole game of this.
Yeah.
So your audience doesn't need you in their feed every day. What they need is for you to be posting purposeful content for when you do show up. Right. So a quick action point for you guys out there. Pick 2 or 3 days, the days where you can actually go and write purposeful content. Stick to them, but also don't be afraid to perhaps mix them up, do a bit of A/B testing. But when you are doing those posts, make them count. Stop obsessing over daily posting. Impact beats volume every single time.
And make sure that the stuff you're putting out there, people care about. People have an interest in. If you're posting about stuff that's dear to you but nobody gives a thing about, you'll make no difference. Purpose and posting about topics that people care about. All right. What's truth number 2, Kirsty?
So you're not learning from what actually is working. So most people aren't learning from their own wins. They're just on autopilot. So you post and you might get a little engagement, but you're just moving on. But when do you actually ever stop and actually look at what's worked? what posts pulled in those comments, what one sparked a DM, and what was the common thread between them posts. If you're not analysing and you're just repeating content, you're treating LinkedIn like a slot machine instead of a strategy. And I was actually at the seaside.
Yeah.
I sat at the seaside with my daughter last weekend. And it's like when you're on those 2p machines and you're putting a coin in, and if you're just putting a coin in on a win that eventually you're going to get money out, maybe a gift if you spent £10 in the machine, then you're not going to get anywhere. But if you're putting the coin in at the time when that little slidey bit in and out comes out at the right time, so the coin hits at the right time, that's when you're going to start seeing results. The money's going to start coming out, the gifts move closer to the edge, and eventually they drop. And your LinkedIn is just the same.
Yeah, my mother said two things in my life that were of great value. They said the secret of success in business and otherwise is timing and appropriateness. And that's the point about this. If you're posting at a time when nobody's listening, or you're posting about stuff that nobody cares about, you might as well not be posting. And that's the point. You don't want to add to the white noise. You want to stick out above it.
Exactly that. So just to give you something to do on this one as an action point, take a look at the content that you've posted over the last month and look at the top 3 to 5 performing posts. Ask yourself, what was the format of those posts? What was the tone? And what was the hook? Now I want you to look at all those 3 or 5 posts, however many you choose, and see what the familiarity is between those posts. Because then that's your golden nugget. That tells you what you need to be working on. You don't need to go and reinvent the wheel every single time.
No, and the point is, once you've identified what that secret sauce was that got them to move the needle, that made them care, well, you can learn from that, and you can make other posts that also have that same sauce in it.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Truth number 3, you're not giving each post a job. So, too many business owners are posting just because they feel like they should, but there's no direction, there's no outcome, no job description. And if your post doesn't have a job, it's not going to work. Every single piece of content needs a purpose. Do you want it to start a conversation? Do you want it to push somebody into your inbox? Do you want it to show that you're the go-to expert? Now, you can't make one post do all 3 jobs. That's like asking one employee to run your accounts, then go and answer the phones and fix the plumbing all within an hour. It's just going to create utter chaos.
Right.
So take a post, but before you actually post it, write down in one sentence, what is the job of this post? And if you can't answer it, there is no point whatsoever in actually posting it. What you do need to go and do is rewrite that post so it has a job. So that is your challenge for that truth bomb there. Go and rewrite your posts.
But I want to add to that. A post doesn't need to bring you in business. A post doesn't necessarily need to show that you agree with something or disagree with something. What a post has to do, and I think you need to really absorb this, it's going to make people care, and it's going to make people strike a chord with them so that they have a reaction. And by the way, when I say about reactions, I don't mean likes. I don't mean people sending you hearts. I don't mean people sending you cat videos. I mean that they actually want to take an action on the basis of that. Now, the action could be as small as asking a question, and that's great because the vast majority of interactions that turn into real engagement are found within the comments of these things. But didn't you do a post the other day which was asking about topics you don't really care that much about football or rugby? What was the purpose of that post?
Because I was Googling something, right? And you know how Google give you a different image every day? And that particular day, I was like, what on earth is this all about? And it's about UEFA football or something. Oh, I couldn't give a damn about it. It was football. So I was then interested in, hang on a minute, I sit most weekends this time of year to watch the rugby.
Yeah.
But the nation, not even just the nation, the world as a whole really, is quite divided on whether it's football or rugby or cricket or basketball or, I don't know, another ball in a different
Yeah.
shape and size. So I just put a post out there and gone, are you a football, are you rugby, no sport or other sport? And that was one of the best posts I've put out there in the last month. And I wasn't doing it to find out who all my rugby fans were to go and form a good connection with, even though when you're having those one-to-ones, I knew that I could drop in those rugby comments and they understood me because they were the ones that supported the rugby as well. Whereas my best friend that is a big person on football, if I drop in rugby comments, we're just not going to connect on that because he looks at one shape of ball and I look at another shape of ball.
The balls and their different shapes being to one side. The most important thing about that post wasn't that it was about football or rugby or about any kind of sports. It was about the fact that it stopped the scroll. But once it stopped the scroll, the next cool bit was when within the comments to that, once they'd agreed that, about how wonderful one type of ball-related sport was as opposed to another, was the movement away from it. So instead of continuously talking about that, they then went on and said, well, what are you doing about X? Or what's your thoughts about Y? So it created the initial impetus to create engagement that moved away from a sports-related conversation.
The thing is, somebody actually was a new connection and messaged me. I didn't even realise that they were local to me and was saying about how well Northampton Saints are doing this year. And we then got talking about rugby, of course. What more would you like me to talk about? But then we then got talking about what each other does in business, what we're currently working on, and all of that. And that conversation would never have happened if that post didn't go out about, do you prefer rugby or football or another sport? So something so meaningless, and I didn't put it out there to build connections. I just put it out there as a bit of a fun post rather than a serious post all the time.
But what I would say is, I'm not encouraging you to go out and find cat videos to put out there. What I am encouraging you to do is, if you are putting out a post about something that is completely off or away from your business, try and find a way that you can take any interactions that you created on the back of that and turning it into something meaningful. Not only necessarily to sell anything, I'm not expecting that. What I'm expecting is that you end up with conversations, because those conversations can lead to better interactions down the line. Hopefully, some of them could even turn into some sort of business-related opportunities.
Well, did you know I was actually helping my dad fit a kitchen over the weekend, and I went up to City Plumbing to get a plumbing bit for under the sink, and the bloke was like a bit off because I've seen a woman in a plumbing shop. Very judgmental of him, and I could have got very angry, but I didn't. So I spy, and he was like, so you don't really know what you buy? And I was like, no, because funny enough, this isn't my day job. I said, my day job is marketing and social media. And that whole sparked a whole new conversation on them looking for somebody to do social media with them. So that's a conversation to have over the upcoming weeks, all to do a bit of plumbing.
So the point about that was, what opened the conversation ended up being nothing to do with where the conversation went to in the first place. It's what was the icebreaker. It was the scroll stopper. It was the thing that made him take notice of you and want to know why what you do could affect him. And in the same goes with these posts. All right, I think we've come to a point where we need a summary, please, Kirsty Hall.
Indeed. So just to summarise the 3 truth bombs. Truth 1, you're confusing consistency with frequency. So remember, 3 times a week is better than every day. Truth
Right.
2, you're not learning from what works. So go and have a look at those analytics. And then truth 3, you're not giving each post a job. So go and give each post a different job.
Yeah, because giving posts a different job mean that you can actually measure them. because you know if the job is supposed to be achieving a certain goal, you can then monitor it and see how well it's achieved that goal. And then, as Kirsty said at the beginning, when she gave you your little bit of homework, you look at your posts and you work out which ones worked well, what bit of secret sauce created it well. I guarantee you it's the ones that actually had a job, had an intention behind them, that you thought about it up front and thought, this post is to encourage people to talk about X. Those are the ones that are likely to have had a reaction. All right. So overall, I would say the big summary line is, if your strategy is post more, then that's no strategy at all. Your strategy is broken. Instead, give your posts tasks and make sure you do it at the right time. Okay, I'm going to give you a challenge. I know it's homework. I'm sorry, but I think you'll find over time, if you follow this through, you take Kirsty's tips, you take my bits of homework, you'll find that you'll be posting better and better. Okay, I want you to take your last 5 posts, and I want you to, dispassionately, in the cold light of day, ask yourself, what was the goal of each? Try and coalesce it down to 2 or 3 words at most. So each one, you want to say, this one was to raise awareness of X. This one was to get people talking about Y. This one was to get people questioning their choice of Z. And I want you to think that the ones that were successful, were they better because it was a quality post, or just because you did it more times? So overall, always post less, but mean more. All right, we're going to talk about next week. I hope you enjoyed this week's. Next one is going to be called Smash My Algorithm. We're going to be cracking the LinkedIn algorithm, that's my baby, and telling you what really matters. So
we're switching the hats up. We're switching the hats up as Gareth takes on the LinkedIn algorithm truth bombs, and we get some more hints and tips about LinkedIn and how it can help us in business.
Perfect. All right. Same time, same spot, Tuesday at 11, with all sorts of
hats.
Until then, bye.
Bye for now.